Oyinloluwa Adeyemi Levite.
Mrs. Oyinloluwa Adeyemi Levite.
Please, my name is Oyinloluwa.
After 4 years of marriage, this is the 5th year. You've not come to terms with the fact that you are now Mrs. Oyinloluwa Adeyemi Levite.
So my name is Oyinloluwa Adeyemi Levite. I am a physiotherapist by profession. I am a wife. I have a burden on like helping people get the best out of their relationships in life. That's my calling. That's my ministry, basically. And
I'm Dr. Oluwadamilare Adeyemi. I'm a healthcare finance professional by vocation, and then by calling, I'm a relationship minister, family marriage minister. Started a calling to help the world live better, healing the nations of the earth, one family at a time. All right, so that's just the mandate that God has given to us as husband and wife. So that's who we are, in summary.
That's interesting. So that means we've come to the right people to ask questions then.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so can you briefly tell us how you met?
Okay. We met at different times, actually. When I met him, do you remember when he met me?
Okay, so say your own part of the story, then he says this.
Who met who first?
No, I think first time I ever saw him was at there's this concert we used to have in Luth, then Heart of Worship, that's the name, it's a worship concert. And then I went there with my roommates, and towards the end of the program, we were 3 that went. The third roommate said we should wait for her. She wanted to go and say hello to Yemi Levite. Okay. Like she was ranting and raving. She wants to go and say hello to him. She's this, that, she's that. So me and my bunkmates were just waiting for her. Okay, go and do your stuff. And so the first time I actually saw him was when she went up to him and she everything. And me and my bunkie were just like, what's wrong with this girl? Like that was the first time I actually met him and knew his name. Yeah. So,
but that's not how we met now.
Okay, well, that's not how.
That was when you first of all discovered me on the radar.
Okay, so how did we meet? I think the first time we met was he was invited. Okay, officially speaking, we didn't meet then because we didn't speak. First time we officially spoke to each other was he was invited to one of our churches, like one of the branches of our churches, to come and give a health talk. And we as students from the medical school were taken there to also help with health checks, checking of blood pressure, doing all those things. So it was like he was invited, and we were the hosts, kind of. We're not of that branch, but we're just invited to help with the health check and all. And so after the program, I think he came and we spoke, and thank you very much, sir, for coming. God bless you. That was the first time we actually spoke to each other. Yeah.
Also.
That was the first time we spoke to each other.
Okay. When that was like a group thing itself, not like one-on-one.
Yeah, not one-on-one.
She was with her friends that day, and I was just passing by at Luth after that ministration that day, and they had already come back to Luth. So
no, we even said hello there in Lekki.
Really?
Yeah, we all said thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I can't remember that part when The one I remember is when I got to Luth, and I saw you and your other friends, and you guys were. I think you're doing. I can't remember what you were doing on a Sunday evening, taking a walk or so.
Yeah, and we were going for rehearsals.
You guys greeted me. I didn't even know anybody, so you guys greeted me, and I just said thank you. So I guess he's been stalking me all the while.
That's not true. First impression I had of him was not good, so I couldn't have been stalking him.
What was the impression? That I wore white shoe. She abused me even to yesterday when we were at our date night. She still abused me. That I wore white shoe, white trouser, white shirt. That was the first time she saw me, and I'm like, sorry, that was because it was a choir worship service out of worship, and that was the uniform they asked us to
It
wear.
was just weird.
Yeah, but that was because
my bunkmate and I were like, what's this weird? Like, why is this our other friend?
She has not stopped abusing me till today. Like me, I'm wearing white shirt, white trouser, white shoe. I'm like, that's what they asked us to wear. I mean, it's just simple. And I actually looked very amazing that day. You just don't want to say the truth.
He didn't look at me.
It's all right. So that's how we met, basically, like just on acquaintance level. And even the acquaintance level is not acquaintance.
What's even acquaintance?
After that day, if I see her on the street, I won't greet her because, I mean, we don't have any relationship. I've not said hi before and all that. And as a matter of ministerial ethics, I am very, very big on being scandal free, not having any unnecessary banter with a female person.
I wasn't
even banter with you. So I always make sure I'm very formal and all that.
Yeah.
But the first time that we actually talked, I actually was the one that actually made the move. And it was very simple. I think you came to cold room that day where we read at Blues. I was reading for my ACCA then.
Okay. Did we speak that day?
We spoke that day. And you said sorry to me.
I just said sorry to him.
But this is how the sorry came to be. So she came to meet her pastor to drop some exam. We call it exam brethren, like a kind of welfare package there. And she came in, greeted him and all that, and then moved. And I think he greeted me that day self.
I don't know.
I think he said hi. Yeah, you said hi. don't deny it. So she said hi and all that, and then she greeted her pastor, dropped the welfare package, and as she was leaving, she mistakenly banged the door. Yeah. All right, like she dropped the door, and the door actually did bang.
I didn't know the door was
going to told everybody. So like naturally, people come like that, bang the door, and leave, and they don't come back to say, "Oh, I'm sorry for doing that." And then she came back, and she said she opened the door again, addressed everybody in that place where we were reading, and she said she's very sorry that she banged the door. And that was just a trigger point for me. Like, oh, wow. She talked so graciously. Who is this damsel? Okay. So, and I knew the pastor that she came to meet, Pastor Debo. I knew him very well. We did ministry at some points together at different points in time. And
it was Pastor Debo that even invited me.
It was one that even invited me to that church where she saw me for the first time. Okay. So I said, okay, at least I know a pastor. Let me start from there. And I started speaking with a pastor. I spoke with Pastor Debo. I spoke with one or two persons that I know her, just to know who she is. Like, okay, yeah, I'm single. I want to get married. I'm looking for a very good woman. Let me use that word. And as at that time, the background gist is that I was on a 2-year relationship ban. I gave myself a 2-year relationship ban. Or let me say, I agreed with God that no relationship, because the first one I had, I boggled it like big time. And the boggling was more or less like, I wasn't supposed to be in that relationship in the first instance. So the purpose for that relationship was defeated from scratch. So it was very clear that it was not going anywhere. It was going to just head for the rocks. And so I had to stop. There were purpose clashes, had a lot of arguments. There were things that were not okay with the calling of God for my life, and I knew I can't continue with this, so I had to stop it. So I gave myself 2 years, first of all, to retrace my steps. Before I entered that relationship that I boggled, I had waited for somebody for 5 years or thereabouts, because I believe God told me that she's my wife.
5 years.
It didn't work out. So that other relationship was like a rebound relationship. I just felt like, okay, God has spoken, it has failed. Let me try my luck, and it failed too.
That's when I was asking you that. How did you feel when someone that was not your friend approached you?
He didn't approach me like that. He didn't, he was doing all his, he knew, but he didn't approach me and tell me, sorry, I want to marry you. No.
Yeah, I first of all built friendship, at least for like 2-3 months.
He didn't approach me like that. It was later when I found out all the things he had done. Like, he had gone to meet this person, He didn't approach me.
Wise for making that kind of move. So I first of all built a solid friendship.
Like, he became my friend.
Yeah, so for like 3 months, we were talking as friends.
I didn't even want to be his friend because I was wondering what kind of nonsense friendship is this?
Because you knew where I was going now.
But he was smart. Like, he didn't, I was just waiting for him to do some things that would just make me, block him or not, like he won't be able to reach me again. So he didn't come at me as, oh, I'm Pastor Yemi Levice, I want to marry you.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. So he didn't come at me like that. He became my friend. Even the friendship self was paced. It wasn't rushed into, because the truth is,
the point now we're
why
just
would
chatting
he
on phone without seeing each
why
other.
would he why would he why would he want to be my friend? Like, obviously I cannot say I did not understand, or I did not sense,
you understand now.
or I did not suspect why he was coming. But I was like, nah, fam. Like I didn't.
Actually, it was very clear when she was going to say, when she knew why I was coming around as a friend. She was just like, what was all this nonsense? Like me and you, wow, that kind of stuff. But I mean,
so yeah, but I wasn't going to be emotional or irrational and just say because he's a pastor. No, I was also going to pray about it. Like, I was going to see the face of God.
Pastor. She didn't want to marry a minister.
Yeah, originally I did not want to marry a pastor or a minister, because I just felt anybody that comes to you with the cloak of pastor, it was my opinion at that time that anybody that comes to you with the cloak of pastor, like, I'm not interested. Like, I just don't want. I didn't want all the drama that goes under G in the actual life of a pastor.
Yeah.
You know, there's a pastor that everybody knows and likes,
the personality,
and then the real person who the pastor is. I just didn't want all that drama at the time. So yeah, so he didn't just come at me at, oh, I want to marry you. Just said the Lord. No.
I lie. I brought game.
So for how long were you guys in a relationship?
Sorry?
How long were you in a relationship before you married?
3 years. 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years actually.
3 years and some months.
3 years and some months.
Okay. That's
3 long, hard years.
So what was the process like?
Of the relationship?
Yeah, like, you know, these days there's just this confusion between dating, courtship. Just it's confused. Oh, one kind of.
Yeah, but from the moment I said yes to him and I agreed to his relationship proposal, I think we began a courtship. Like, because we knew we were going to get married.
It's not play now.
I think that's basically the difference between courting and dating. Like, in courtship, you also date, because dating is you're seeing someone that you're going out with, like you guys do things together, you have fun together, you talk together, you do things together. But then courtship is like there's an end goal.
Yeah, go to your room. Sorry, please.
There's an end, the end goal, the end game. Like, it was sure we were planning for a marriage, and so I think that's basically the difference between courtship and dating.
Like, dating is you're still doing the same things.
Maybe not
exactly.
Exactly.
But the dating part is you are seeing regularly. Maybe
you guys like each other.
You go somewhere on a
you have outings together. You do things together.
That's just dating. And dating can be done with anybody, actually.
Yeah,
in the real sense of it. But you cannot court without dating. But you can date
courtship
without
involves dating.
Yeah.
But you can date without courting. Yeah.
Okay, I think
dating doesn't look like a committed relationship. It looks like let's just see how
it goes.
Or just casual. Let's see how this goes. But in courting, you talk about very serious matters. We're getting married. We're planning to get married.
Yeah, we get to know each other more. We get to know our purposes, why we're together, what we want to do in marriage. Like, you get to ask deep questions about each other that you won't just casually tell anybody, even someone that is taking you to watch a movie. Like, you won't just tell someone deep things about yourself like you tell someone you're in a courtship with.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's basically the difference.
It's very much deeper, more intimate.
Yeah, it's more intense,
more committed, more of a commitment than dating.
Yes, basically.
So what should the courtship process? What should it be like? In terms of, okay, you mentioned asking questions, communicating about, like, what topics now will be, you say, okay, different
everything
talkable.
everything possible, your past, your present, your future,
what
dreams, goals,
who you are,
who you are,
what
who
you
you
know
want
about
to be.
yourself, who you want to be, what you think the marriage will do to you
what
both.
do you think marriage is all about?
Exactly.
Like all these candid questions series we're doing right now.
Because we're currently doing the
Yeah, I'm
series.
following that too.
Okay.
Yeah, you ask very detailed questions.
Very detailed
Courtship
questions.
is not the time to be romantically involved in the real sense of it. Yeah, there must be some level of romance.
Exactly.
But romance should just be very minimal. Like you're not talking play kind of stuff. You're really planning for the future. Deep talks, like, very serious strategic talks about your life, your future. What are the plans for traveling? What are the plans for if you want to
what is the idea on living in different countries?
Career,
things like that, like
parenting, giving birth to children.
Do you want to have children?
Why?
Exactly.
All those kind of very serious questions. Dealing with in-laws, parental influence in your marriage. How do you handle conflicts?
Even like
communication,
influence of pastors,
you get
things like that.
You sort out all those things in courtship. It's not the time to be buying ice cream everywhere, just sitting there and be laughing with each other.
No,
that's what people do in dating.
That's
what
exactly.
Go sit down, eat, marry, watch movie, go home and sleep.
Yeah.
They're not really talking about serious matters. So at the end, they'll get married to somebody that is a stranger that they don't know.
And life will hit them, and then they'll start saying marriage is hard. Marriage
but you need to
black market.
Well. It's not black market. You can actually see. That thing is just actually a myth. It's not true, because the truth is, you can actually, to an extent, know, and you're a child of God again, you're a child of light. In courtship, God will shine light on that person for you.
If you're sincere with God, you guys will see.
You see the other person very well. You will know exactly.
Maybe not 100%, because the truth is, even individuals don't know themselves 100%.
But those ones are going to be material issues.
It won't be things that are very serious that can affect you guys. So that's what the process entails. Like, it entails going deep, like not only the sweet things to talk about, the things that are also hard to talk about, getting to know yourselves, at the end of the courtship process, you should even, as an individual, know yourself better.
Exactly.
Because you've opened up, and you know who you are, you know who this person is, and you guys can, without emotion, like certainly say, oh, we want to be together. Like, we're not just being together because we love each other, we like each other, or I like how I feel around this person. It will be much more than that.
It won't last 1 week in marriage.
Maybe 2 weeks.
It won't last 1 week. You know why? Because after 3 days, 4 days, all the you want to have sex. It will come down.
No, some people is longer than that.
Well, it depends on how they were rushing it when they get married. But after 1 week, it will clear in your eyes that, okay, this is it.
So now it is what you guys talked about, what you guys planned about in courtship that will keep you guys going.
Okay, so I like the fact where you mentioned romance and all of that. What level of intimacy is acceptable in a courtship process? I mean, intimacy, not just physically, because yes, we hear it a lot. Don't have sex in marriage.
Yeah.
But in terms of emotional,
spiritual intimacy.
We classify intimacy into four categories. There is intellectual intimacy, there's spiritual, there's emotional, and there's physical.
Okay.
Right? When you're in courtship, you should actually have very strong spiritual intimacy.
Explore
the
spiritual
intimacy. You can explore. Talk about God. Talk about your religious beliefs, your faith. Pray together.
Fellowship together. Have the euphoria of fellowshipping together. Like there's a apart from the spiritual benefits that come with fellowshipping, there's the feel good effects that it brings. And then you guys should fellowship together and enjoy the euphoria that it comes with. Spiritual intimacy is one aspect.
Then intellectual intimacy is what you follow. Like you guys should rub minds,
have sensible discussions, like things that affect you. Imagine if someone is in a relationship or is in a courtship with someone, and for instance, let me use an example. A man likes to talk about, for instance, politics in America or in the world, or football or something, like things that matter to you, that when they wake you up and they say, do you know that so stocks is not dropping, or is this, is that, and the woman cannot relate, like that is a recipe for future
disaster.
cheating.
because
you would end up finding someone that would relate
resonate with
with
him
you
in that
intellectually, or you now end up doing things that, let me not even talk about this. You won't even
because you
understand.
won't be interested.
You won't even understand.
Don't even bother talking.
Exactly. So you guys need to explore your intellectual intimacy
very well.
Very, 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 very well.
You can talk about any topic.
Exactly.
Even if both of you don't know, go and read it up,
find
come
out
back
exactly
and
discuss it. Like, you guys need to be maybe not on the exact same level, but be at par. Like, you cannot be in courtship with someone who your intellectual level is far, it will
affect, because the person will just stop talking. And once intellectual intimacy is dropping, spiritual will be dropping.
Will be dropping as
because
well.
the person will not even know what to be praying about with you as such.
Exactly.
And that's where problems start in marriage. They will not get married. They don't have something to talk about. They don't have something to really say. My husband is not talking to me, because
what does he want to talk to you about?
There was no central interest you guys picked and discussed.
Yeah.
So you've not rubbed minds with each other.
Yeah. Like,
you can see that anytime we have a program like we're doing right now, this was not rehearsed.
Yeah.
This was not rehearsed.
And then even if I'm not there, like if you ask him and
I'll say the same.
We might not say the exact same words, but what we are saying is not going to be far from each other, because we talk about almost everything and anything. Like things that have nothing to do with spiritual, even like I use the example of politics, which is like a classic example. Like, we talk about everything.
Yeah, you should build that level of intimacy during courtship.
Yes.
Courtship. When you have built this level of intimacy very well, and you are now moving to moving to emotional intimacy. So spiritual, intellectual, then emotional. Because somebody who is giving you spiritual intimacy and intellectual intimacy, you get some element of emotional intimacy with that person, because you'll be happy spending time with that person.
Yes, you
will not want to go home in the evening.
Feel good effect.
There will feel good effect. Emotional intimacy is setting in. So when you now have a problem, for instance, emotional intimacy is what sets in when the person now helps you spiritually and intellectually to solve that problem. So that keeps building emotional bond between you two. And when that one is setting in, you are writing letter to physical intimacy.
Yeah, because
at that point in time, emotional intimacy and physical intimacy, they have a very thin.
They are sharing, but they are sharing. This is room 8. They are sharing what?
You start having butterflies rumbling in your tummy for that person. Oh, I just want to meet this person. Every time he talks, I'm just wild.
Yeah.
Like my wife told me like 2 Saturdays ago when we finished speaking, like she just see the way she's looking at me like that. She likes looking at me like that. And when she looks at me like that, I'm usually very happy and thrilled. And she too, she's happy looking at me like that. So too, man, for after event, that kind of stuff. Like, she's always very happy. Like, we build intellectual intimacy together, spiritual intimacy together, emotional. So physical we enter naturally. Naturally. All right. So when it comes to physical intimacy, you now have to be very careful.
Even emotional.
Emotional intimacy, that's where you now start getting very careful. You now start having to set boundaries. When you're talking intellectual intimacy, you don't need any boundaries. Spiritual intimacy, you don't need any boundary. But once it comes to emotional intimacy, you need to set boundaries. Because there are certain topics you should not talk about, because it will affect both emotions.
Or don't talk about when it's still far from when you're getting married, or when you're alone.
Or when you're alone.
Yes,
start talking about sex, for instance, or talking about erotic stuff. Excuse me. Or there was a point in time we had to talk about it during our courtship. Then I write poems a lot. I spoiled her with poems. And there was one particular poem I wrote. I knew I have set her up that day, like, this girl, she no deal with it, something don't go on, that kind of stuff. And we had to talk about it like, don't be reading this kind of poem for me in a very closed setting.
Yeah, like, give it to me. I'll read it on my own in my mother's house.
My mother's house. Don't be reading poems for me in a very interesting way that me mama ton, that kind of stuff. So I mean, we were building emotional intimacy, but we had to set boundaries. That's an example. And then if you don't set set boundaries when you're building emotional intimacy, you start having physical intimacy.
That's another reason why we actually don't encourage too long courtship.
It's not actually ideal. 3 years is too long. For us, I had to do 3 years with her because she was in school and I needed to wait. I mean, I knew what I got, and I can't just say, because I didn't want to do too long courtship, I'll now keep quiet and wait for one brother to come and snatch her. So I stayed there like, now here we go, 3 years to complete, we finish school. And in fact, she graduated from school a week after we got married. Like, a graduation ceremony.
My induction was a week
after we got married. So we were that clear about it. and we didn't want to stay too long again because when I was talking to her mom, I was like, "Mommy,
He told my mom, like, I will touch your daughter.
I don't want to start touching your daughter because the level of intimacy we have built. Fire is burning, chemistry.
Yeah, so 3 years is actually too long. It's long because it should progress from, like he said, spiritual to the intellectual. By the time you guys are getting towards emotional intimacy, your wedding date should be in
very
view.
close.
Yeah.
Very close.
Your wedding date should be in view. Yeah. So that's that.
Yeah, thank you for that. So yeah, you've mentioned some of them when you were talking about the courtship process. What are the pitfalls that you would say is common among courting couples? What are the
Pitfalls,
pitfalls,
like
and then how we can avoid
like
them?
challenges that okay. I think first one that comes to mind is malalignment of purpose. Malalignment, like people coming together, but the purpose why they are together is just because they want to get married and nothing more.
Yeah.
But their marriage is not the purpose.
Yeah.
Their marriage is supposed to be the vehicle to fulfill the purpose while they are coming together.
The purpose, the end is not marriage.
The end is not marriage.
The purpose is not to marry. Like marriage should help you guys fulfill the purpose.
Exactly. So people come together, they want to get married, but the purpose is not there. So it actually affects even any kind of level of intimacy they can build. So you see people are in courtship for 1 year, 2 years, they don't know much about each other and they want to get married. So that's one of the major pitfalls that I recognize. And it's because of malalignment of purpose. When I want to go and minister there, when we're courting, she's fasting. She's praying for me. You understand what I'm trying to say? Like, it was clear what our purpose in that marriage was. It's for things like this, ministering to the body of Christ in the area of family and marriage. So when we're courting, she's praying in tongues, she's fasting. There is no day I'm going to minister somewhere. As I tell her, babe, I'm ministering somewhere so great. She has already started fasting and praying. We are fasting together and we're praying. So we build spiritual intimacy. We will discuss the topic together that I want to go and minister. We'll discuss it. That's intellectual intimacy. We're building so much intimacy together. And purpose is the center of that courtship. So that's the first pitfall I recognize in people's relationships, that you'll be wondering, what are you people doing together? If everybody just meets people and they say they want to get married because they want to start having sex and having children, then
because they like each other,
then it's not enough reason. You can actually get all those things outside marriage. You can have baby mama. You can have, even if it's intellectual intimacy you want to build, you can actually do that outside marriage. But you want to get married because there's a purpose. There's a purpose your life is all about. Mine is all about. Hers is all about. And coming together, those purposes must align and fit. And then you are now doing synergistic efforts to make sure that the purpose why that marriage is coming together is established. See the way we dragged our son out of my office now. This is what we do. I mean, no child, nothing. Children come and scatter marriages. They just find out that the woman is loving the children more than the husband and vice versa. No child can come and scatter us. This is a strong bond.
We are the team. They are they.
They are they. We are we. And the reason why we do that is because they will come and go. But the purpose why this marriage was established will remain forever. They will go to their husband's house, go and get married and give their
wife's house.
You get what I'm trying to say? So, and that singular factor actually affects every other aspect. And it leads to some other pitfalls, like, okay, because you don't even have any sense of purpose and direction in that marriage, you start jumping from spiritual, intellectual, to intimacy to emotional and physical. So you start touching yourself, start having sex. And then your judgment is skewed. You can't make right judgments again. Once sex gets involved,
your judgment is affected.
Yeah, so things like that. See, I was tired before this interview, but see purpose. I mean, you can see I was slowed. Like I was actually tired. I've been interviewing. We've been counseling somebody almost all day. It's very serious.
And we still have another one.
And we still have another one by 4 o'clock. So
it's even 4.
It's even 4 o'clock. I'm not sure they've not even reached out. They've not reached out. All right. So you get, but this is what we do, and we are happy doing it. This is how we build intimacy. This is how we bond. This is how, and that is what courtship should be. You should bond, build based on purpose. But once that purpose is missing,
once you're not doing the things you should be doing,
you
end up doing the things
you're not supposed to do. So like you just go watch movies, talk. You're not talking about each other.
Distraction is a major pitfall. You guys will end up majoring in minor things that don't even matter.
Exactly.
So
Then another pitfall I think courtships have sometimes is the pitfall that has to do with parental influence.
okay,
Like people getting into relationships and
true.
courtships, and their parents have a very major influence
Major say on
on what
why.
on what they are going to do in that relationship. To the
Okay.
point that some people even really know what they want to do, and parents actually say, "No, this is not going to happen. They're not going to get married. I'm not going to allow this." Parental influence, environmental influence,
Yeah.
some pitfalls like financial issues. If you don't have money, your money, no money, no honey.
Yes, so money makes
So
everything
in
sweeter.
cutting, if you don't have money, you can't even take her out or take him out, go on
Or
a date.
buy gifts.
The first ever time I ever went to a big restaurant in my life was when I was cutting my wife. We went to Lagoon restaurant. We went to rental hotel. All those kind of things. I never did them in my life before. But when I met my wife, I needed to up my game. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So, and that helped our relationship because we bonded using those avenues. All right. But if there was no money and you're not taking
But
somebody
to be
out,
honest, we can actually count the number of times we went out.
yeah, we didn't. It's not as if we went out all the time.
In the
You
3
get?
years, we can count it
Yeah, we
with
can
one
count
hand.
it. We can count it. But what I'm trying to say is,
But that
those were
was
magic moments for us.
Yeah,
You guys,
and
we
those were
enjoyed
like
ourselves.
yeah.
It was fun. That was where I proposed to her. That kind of stuff. You get. So if you don't have money in relationship, you can't buy gifts for her, for instance.
Yeah, you can't buy gift for him.
Yeah. There'll be points in time when the other party needs money. You understand? And you need to just be of help. There are times when the other party needs a material blessing and the person does not have the financial means. You have to be of help. Those kind of things. That's financial pitfall. Which other kind of pitfall again? Abuses. Let's talk about that. So in courtship, some people abuse people mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually.
I think
depending on
it also stems from jumping the
malalignment
gun.
of purpose.
Yes, from jumping the gun. From because when you're in courtship and you've not settled some things, like you've not fully encapsulated, for instance, spiritual intimacy and intellectual intimacy, and you guys jump into like physical intimacy, there can be some form of abuse that will be going on, and the person that is being abused might not even know that it is abuse. And the abuser also might not fully know that he or she is an abuser. You understand? So I think all these things stem from not doing it the right way. Close that door.
Yeah, shut my door. Go to your room and shut my door. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Sorry about that.
No problem. I'm sure you're used to it now. Yeah, we're watching our videos.
Yes, so he always makes.
He's our third party right now.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's very educative and inexhaustible. So yes, you mentioned about jumping the guns from, intellectual, spiritual, then to physical and everything. So for married couples, they've avoided all the things they need to avoid before marriage. After marriage, how do they build intimacy?
The thing is, it's not as if you're not going to build any level of intimacy before you marry. It's just that you're now like physically allowed to, because the truth is, if you don't build any form of intimacy before you get married, once you get married, it won't just fall upon you. Yes, you're allowed, and you realize that sex, for instance, isn't the same thing as intimacy.
Yeah, it's not.
So you're just allowed to have sex. If you guys are strangers to each other, like spiritually, intellectually, you'll still be having the sex, but there's no intimacy. So intimacy is like a journey, like it's consummated when you get married. Like, oh yes, we can finally, because the truth is, once you start to build intimacy, your if you connect with someone on a spiritual level, on a soul level, definitely your bodies will want to connect. So you have to, first of all, in marriage, keep the fire burning.
Yeah, the spiritual intimacy
in your soul. The intellectual has to keep being foiled. The emotional has to keep being foiled. Intellectual and emotional are like interwoven into the soul. The soul is the seat of the mind and your reasoning, your will, so those things, and then that will now make physical intimacy sweeter. But when you get married, there's still a lot of work that has to be done for your intimacy to continue, especially when issues of life happen. Before you get married, the time you spend with your intended is that person's time. For instance, if I go to work and he goes to work, when we meet is our time. Like we know that, oh, I'm not picking up any phone calls from work. I'm not doing it. This is our time. When you guys get married, like you can realize that it's possible for you to get married to someone and then start spending less time with the person.
Yeah.
Because you guys are around each other. You're like, oh, I'm there. It's an assumption. I'm there. I'm around, but you're not truly there. So you have to make a conscious effort in marriage to make sure that you are there. Like you guys keep the fire burning in your intimacy. Take out time, like physical steps to keep the fire burning in your relationships. Have a prayer time. Pray together every day. Read books together and discuss it. Watch movies together. All the movies you watch don't have to solely be for entertainment purposes.
It can be for
learning. It can be we do a lot of documentaries. Like we watch a lot of documentaries, even more than movies. We watch documentaries together and we see how, oh wow, this thing relates to our lives in this way, relates to family, to parenting in this way, relates to the nation in this way. Like we have things that we're discussing about always. We pray together, read the Bible together, study together, do things together, have date nights, like have a time set out. It can be weekly, it can be monthly, it can be bi-monthly. It should just be regular, scheduled that we are going out and we're keeping our emotional fire burning. Like do things.
No matter how busy I get, I tend to get very busy, for instance, and I have to put a hard stop at a time every evening. By 7 p.m.
7 p.m. is our time. Like our alarm rings and it's our time.
7 p.m. I must be with my wife. You get, so you must have that. Yes. It must be a conscious effort.
A conscious effort.
Exactly. That's exactly.
Do things. Be more selfless. Do things that make the other person happy. Simple gestures that you can do that you know. That it comes with studying. Know what makes your spouse happy. Do things that make your spouse happy. Like it goes a long way in sustaining the intimacy, because truth is, especially when issues of life happen, like you guys get pregnant, have a child, have a stressful job, it's possible for you guys to end up
not having
like roommates
time, all this
exactly
kind of stuff, and you just be roommates,
and you realize that we're even closer when we're cutting than now. It's very possible. So it's a conscious effort. You cannot just assume that because we are married and we're living in the same house, we're intimate. That's not it.
Then again, to add to everything that my wife has said, when it comes to physical intimacy, you also have to understand what tickles your spouse's fancy, like what makes him or her tick, like what triggers their willingness to want to be intimate with you sexually. Because physical intimacy that you've been protecting yourself from before you got married, you can actually now end up getting married and find out that why are people shouting about these sex things?
Because you're not even doesn't even do anything to you.
There was a point in time that we got so busy and it was looking like that, like the sex is overhyped, skinny. But after a while, when we discovered some loopholes, we're able to close that gap and build physical intimacy together and be able to say, okay, these are the things that are making us not to have enough physical intimacy like we should.
And once the spiritual, once the spiritual and intellectual does not go down, it's very easy to spark up back the physical.
Exactly.
The physical can, because obviously if you're physically tired, you cannot, as a man, you cannot, I don't know if I can say this on air, you cannot have an erection if you're physically drained. So, but once the spiritual and the intellectual, they are going on fine, the fire there is burning. It's very easy to always spark up back the physical.
Yeah. Shouldn't be hard at all. It's not like the end.
Yes, like the end
of the game. Yeah.
Interesting. I'm not married, so I'm sure that's
why we're trying to be as careful as possible.
My married people would, because I have to create content for them also. So I'm sure they will appreciate and find it very helpful. Thank you so much. I think we